So there's this really ancient legend from India about the musk deer, and it's a story that starts on a crisp spring day.
Right, when this deer catches a whiff of something totally unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. This mysterious, just absolutely heavenly fragrance. And it's a scent that kind of hints at, complete peace and beauty and love.
It's just intoxicating to him.
So intoxicating that he's completely overwhelmed. He's literally compelled to find the source of it. So he treks across freezing mountain peaks, he wanders through steamy jungles, and crosses endless desert sands.
He spends his entire life doing this, right? Just searching the world over.
Whole life. And then finally he's just exhausted. He's at the very end of his life and he collapses.
Which is where it gets really heartbreaking.
Yeah. As he falls, a rock pierces his belly. And suddenly the air is absolutely filled with that heavenly fragrance.
Oh, wow.
As he dies, the musk deer realizes the scent he'd been searching for his entire life had been emanating from his own belly all along.
It's a tragic but incredibly accurate image of the human condition.
It really is. We spend so much of our lives trekking across our own, metaphorical deserts, looking for external safety or belonging.
Completely oblivious to the fact that the freedom we're desperately seeking is actually internal.
Exactly. So, welcome to today's Deep Dive. Today, we are dissecting Tara Brach's teachings on radical acceptance, specifically looking at chapters 7, 11, and 12.
And we've got some great visual notes and charts to help us work through this material, too.
Yeah, we do. Our mission today is to figure out how to break free from what the text calls the trance of fear. We want to learn how to heal our relationships and ultimately realize our true compassionate nature.
Which is a huge goal, but it's so incredibly relevant.
Okay, let's unpack this. As we journey through this material today, I want you, the listener, to think about a current fear or stressor in your own life. Keep that in mind as we go.
That's a great idea, because to dismantle that trance of fear, we have to look at the intersection of our neurobiology and our spiritual psychology.
Right, because when you think about that stressor, it usually feels, incredibly solid, like it's insurmountable.
Oh, absolutely. But the mechanics of how that fear actually takes hold in your body are quite fragile once you understand them.
Well, let's look at that neurobiology, because there is this really crucial distinction in the text between the biological effect of fear and the emotion of fear.
Right. The physiological response, like that sudden spike of adrenaline, is really just a momentary survival tool.
It's just chemistry.
Yeah, it's a chemical chain reaction designed purely for immediate physical threats. In the animal kingdom, that effect lasts only seconds.
Like a gecko freezing or a cat's fur bristling up.
Exactly. A threat appears, the nervous system mobilizes for fight or flight, the threat passes, and the animal literally, physically shakes off the excess energy. They go right back to baseline.
But humans, we don't do that.
No, we don't. We possess complex cognition and episodic memory. So we take that brief biological affect and we sustain it artificially with our thoughts.
We basically trap ourselves in a cognitive feedback loop.
Yeah, we really do.
We pull painful memories from the past and then we project them onto the future, just constantly anticipating loss. Loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of status.
And when that mechanism works overtime, that's when we enter the trance of fear.
And it's not just in our heads, right? It becomes a physical, somatic reality.
Totally. Over time, we develop literal physical armor.
Yeah.
The muscles in your shoulders chronically hunch, your chest wall tightens, your breath gets really shallow.
We're literally physically trying to make ourselves smaller to protect our vulnerable parts.
Right. Well, mentally, we just get trapped in this narrative of impending doom and personal unworthiness. We stop participating in life and shift entirely into just defending our existence.
Which is so exhausting. It's kind of like having a camera lens zoomed in so incredibly tight on one terrifying subject, like a potential mistake you might make at work.
Yeah, and the rest of the landscape just completely disappears.
Exactly. But if our brains are biologically wired for this survival mechanism, how do we ever zoom the camera out?
Well, the first major strategy for zooming out is about establishing a baseline of safety. What the Buddhist tradition calls taking refuge.
Because you can't widen your perspective if your nervous system thinks it's being attacked.
Precisely. You have to anchor into something stable. That could be inner awareness, the truth of the present moment, or a spiritual community. Once the nervous system registers just a fraction of safety, cognitive flexibility comes back.
There's a really profound case study in the text about this, a woman named Barbara.
Oh, yes. her story is intense.
It really is. She had severe childhood trauma. Her father was an alcoholic, and when she was an infant, he actually dunked her underwater in a rage.
Which is horrifying.
Right.
And as a result, she grew up with this paralyzing, deeply somatic fear of making mistakes or upsetting anyone.
It was just a constant hum of terror for her.
She described it as having a pack of hungry wild dogs locked in a cellar inside her, just threatening to break down the door at any moment.
And she was a high school guidance counselor. So this trauma surfaced heavily when she had to deal with a troubled, aggressive student named Marty.
Right, she was trapped in panic, totally convinced she was going to fail him.
So she utilized this strategy of widening the lens. She used a visualization technique.
Yeah, and instead of fighting the panic, she imagined sitting on a vast park bench under this massive open sky.
And then she invited the feeling of panic to come sit right next to her on the bench.
The brilliance of this approach is how it alters your spatial relationship to the fear. The fear was still there on the bench.
But it wasn't the only data point anymore.
Exactly. She could visualize the sky, hear the birds, sense the spaciousness. That engages the parasympathetic nervous system and dials down the threat response.
And because she cultivated that spaciousness, when Marty actually came into her office and started acting out, she didn't freeze.
She had the mental bandwidth to imagine Marty sitting on that exact same expansive park bench.
Which gave her the room to bypass her defensive reactions and respond with genuine compassion.
But, there's another totally counterintuitive approach detailed in the text.
Right, leaning into the fear, which is fascinating because it defies every single evolutionary instinct we have.
It really does. I mean, if you're dangling from a cliff, your body screams at you to hold on, never let go.
But this strategy argues that sometimes the only way through is to drop directly into the sensation, like the story of Eric.
Oh, Eric's story is a perfect example. He was just drowning in anxiety.
His mother was severely ill.
And his wife was battling chronic depression. So he was completely overwhelmed by this intense powerlessness.
And during meditation, that powerlessness triggered a suppressed memory of his brother drowning. He was hit with a tidal wave of panic.
His usual coping mechanism was to run, numb out or distract himself.
But this time, he didn't. He stopped resisting. He literally asked the fear, "How big are you?"
And he surrendered entirely to the physical reality of the panic.
He leaned into the pounding heart, the cramping stomach, the suffocating tension in his chest.
What's fascinating here is that leaning in doesn't mean getting lost in the mental story of fear.
Right, it's not indulging the what-ifs.
No, not at all. It means dropping below the narrative into the raw physical sensations, the squeezing chest, the tight throat.
And the remarkable thing is, when Eric stopped fighting the physical discomfort, the chaotic energy eventually broke. It gave way to this vast, tender stillness.
Because he finally allowed the nervous system to complete its cycle without a story attached to it.
So for you listening right now, consider what your own park bench looks like.
Yeah, or how simply acknowledging the physical tightness in your jaw or shoulders today might bring you more peace.
Now, facing our fears alone on a park bench is a great start, but it naturally leads to a problem.
Which is?
Well, our fears often tell us that we are fundamentally broken and totally isolated, which smoothly transitions us to chapter 11.
Ah, right. Healing through relationship.
Exactly. We can't do all our healing in a vacuum. We have to do it in relationship with others. There's this funny cartoon from Tricycle Magazine mentioned in the text.
I love that one.
It's a personal ad that just says, tall, dark, handsome Buddhist looking for himself.
It's hilarious, but it points to a real issue.
Yeah. I mean, solitary meditation is kind of like practicing basketball alone in your driveway.
It's great for the fundamentals.
Sure, you can perfect your free throw, but you don't really know how to play the game until you're in a messy, unpredictable game with other people, throwing elbows and everything.
I agree completely. In fact, solitary practice can sometimes accidentally reinforce the illusion of a separate, isolated self.
Right. If we are wounded in relationships, which we often are, then we must heal in relationships.
There's a really beautiful framework for this in the text regarding a Zambian healing ritual.
Oh, the ancestor's tooth.
Yes. When someone in their tribe becomes ill, physically or emotionally, they don't view it as a personal defect. They view it as a shared tribal concern, an ancestor's tooth that has lodged in the person.
So it's not a personal failure, it's a collective issue.
Exactly. The whole tribe gathers. They dance, and they openly share their own buried hurts. Their philosophy is that the tooth will come out as the truth comes out.
That is just profound. Realizing that your pain isn't a defect, but a shared human condition.
It dismantles the shame that fuels the trance of fear. We see this in modern settings too, like the story of Anne at the choir retreat.
Right, she had that awful childhood trauma of being locked in a cellar.
And being in close quarters at this retreat triggered a massive panic attack. She felt trapped and terrified.
Her instinct was to fake being sick and just go home.
But she didn't. She took a huge risk. She stood up and admitted to the group, "I'm really scared right now." She allowed herself to be entirely vulnerable.
And the group didn't reject her. In fact, admitting she was scared gave everyone else permission to be authentic about their own insecurities. It completely transformed the retreat.
It's the power of shared vulnerability. The text also mentions Karen, who is going through a super bitter divorce.
She found a lot of peace in a Kalyana Mitta group, right? Spiritual friends.
Yeah. She listened to other people discuss their own neurotic, messy, out-of-control emotions.
Which helped her realize her own reactions weren't unspiritual or crazy.
Exactly. That realization gave her a firm emotional center, which gave her the confidence to handle her ex-husband without getting totally derailed.
It reminds me of the legend of Parsifal and the dying king. The king is suffering, right?
There's long.
And Parsifal just walks up to him and asks, "Oh, my lord, what aileth thee?"
Just genuine, non-judgmental care.
Yeah, and the king was healed simply because someone cared enough to ask.
To put this into everyday practice, the author introduces insight dialogue.
Interpersonal meditation.
Yes, it's the practice of pausing, deliberately relaxing physical tension, and deeply listening during a conversation.
Because usually, while someone else is speaking, we're just formulating our rebuttal.
Right, we're behind our armor. Insight dialogue asks you to drop the armor. The next time you feel reactive with a partner or a colleague, just try it.
See what happens if you pause, drop your shoulders, and truly listen.
But that brings us to a massive existential question.
It does. Because once we drop our fearful armor and we connect authentically with others, a big question remains. If we aren't our fears and we aren't our defensive armor, then who exactly are we?
Which brings us to chapter 12, realizing our true nature.
The author asserts that our core identity isn't the small self, the anxious, defensive ego that's always failing.
No, our true nature is described as a boundless, radiant awareness.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How do we actually experience that?
By looking directly into awareness itself, asking the question, who is aware?
The text shares the story of Jim, a meditator who was super frustrated by this.
Oh, Jim. He had this persistent witness self that was always sitting just behind his eyes, watching him meditate.
Yeah, it felt like a very solid, distinct me. But when he finally stopped grasping and asked, who is aware of this witness? The solid self just vanished.
He realized there was no tiny person driving the machine, just the vast space of awareness.
Wait, if our true nature is just this empty awareness, doesn't that make us totally detached, like floating robots?
I can see why it sounds that way.
I mean, how does feeling empty lead to a compassionate, peaceful life for the listener?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it goes back to a core Mahayana Buddhist concept. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Emptiness isn't a dead void. Think of emptiness as the sky, and all form, our emotions, our love, our grief, as the weather.
So the sky isn't detached from a storm, it just holds it.
Exactly. Emptiness is the living space that allows love and form to exist without destroying us.
The author shares a deeply moving, really heartbreaking story about this. She wrote about losing her beloved dog, Tara.
Yes, to a brain tumor.
During the dog's passing, she didn't detach or numb out. She felt these excruciating, crashing waves of grief.
And that grief is the form. It's the expression of love.
But at the same time, she recognized the soft, vast space of awareness holding that grief. The emptiness.
Radical acceptance is balancing both. Holding the messy, agonizing love of the physical world and the peaceful awareness of your true nature.
To bring this down to earth, she tells another story about a totally normal, chaotic morning, rushing her son to school in awful traffic.
Oh, the car ride story. That one is so relatable.
It really is. She's stressed, they're late, and she snaps at him over the radio. Instantly, she feels like a failing, neurotic mother.
The trance of fear completely takes over.
But when she gets home, she sits in her driveway and simply asks, who is aware?
She realizes there is no solid bad mom entity.
Right. Just passing thoughts and physical tension all rising and falling within this endless space of awareness.
It's an incredibly practical tool to step back from that small, fearful identity.
We've covered some immense territory today. We learned how to widen the lens on our physical trance of fear.
We discovered that sharing our messy vulnerability actually heals us in our relationships.
And we realized that beneath our defensive armor is a boundless, loving awareness. So what does this all mean for you?
It means you don't have to live in the trance.
Exactly. I encourage you to pause today. Drop the armor. Remember the musk deer. You don't have to go searching for that heavenly scent outside yourself. It's already there.
I'll leave you with one final thing to ponder. Think about the person in your life who frustrates you the most.
Oh, boy. We all have one.
We really do. The one with the thickest defensive armor. What if their frustrating behavior is just a mirror of your own forgotten fears?
Wow.
The next time they irritate you, before you react, look at them and ask yourself, who is aware? You might just find that the boundless space looking out of your eyes is the exact same space looking back.
The scent was inside you all along. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.